Reporting from the recesses of the mind's eye, this is the Coroner's Report, your news roundup for the week that was, February 8th, 2021 in entertainment. This go-around will be a triple threat bulletin focusing exclusively on the world of TV and streaming. We go now to our Situation Room for our incoming transmission.
Once again, this is Rumor Control. Here are the facts.
So while watching one dud of a Super Bowl, I was content to enjoy me some Domino's pepperoni bacon pizza and cheesy bread. Seriously, what do they put in those things that make them so addictive? Crystal meth and porno? When all of a sudden, I saw the trailer for the new Clarice program, a spin-off show about Silence of the Lambs, and I thought, well, that's nothing to get excited about. I mean, it ain't no cheesy bread, bruh. Now, considering that it was being created by Alex Kurtzman, it was undoubtedly going to suck harder than the vacuum of space. I knew this, you knew that. But the last thing I was expecting was A, journalists to actually report on that, let alone B, they would attribute its suctitude to the salt and pepper snowflake. I'll spare you the details and dig straight to the dirt. This show does more blow than Tony Montana surrounded by bricks of cocaine. Before I get to the heart of this article, I'll make one quick pit stop at paragraph 3. In real life, VICAP is the FBI's data collation program, a long-standing initiative of dubious benefit to the law enforcement cause. Here, it's a squad of grimaces led by Paul Krendler, Michael Cudlitz. He introduces his men with one trait apiece. Esquivel's our army sniper guy, Tripathy's our library, Clark's our lie detector. That's all for character development. We just met them and they're already examining a brutalized dead woman, stabbed and bitten and naked, her private parts rather daintily covered by fallen leaves. A broadcast networks must have standards after all. With this level of sarcasm on full display, I demand to know immediately who wrote this article, my subconscious mind? We now shift gears to the main point, third paragraph from the bottom. Clarice's other co-creator is Alex Kurtzman, a practiced IP hack known for Transformers, various Star Treks, a failed Mummy, and the worst Spider-Man. That's a lot of money made off of other people's originality. Can't we institute some kind of limit on this stuff? Like, maybe a person can only work in 4 pre-existing universes per decade. His participation makes Clarice feel even more like a dastardly act of franchise capitalism. I'd believe you if you told me Kurtzman was planning a Buffalo Bill prequel series or a throwback procedural where Clarice Starling's dad solves 60s crime. Egad! Have people finally caught on? All I can say is welcome to the party, and what took so long? I'll be expanding on this in a later video far down the road, but geez, it's all there. Folks, think about the pearls of wisdom this article just laid on your chest. This blood-sucking parasite has affixed his feeding tube to one flop after another. He's bombed films and sunk franchises. He tried, and failed, to copy the Marvel formula of a shared universe 3 separate times. The only way this human barnacle can survive is by latching himself to the work of men better than him. You couldn't find an original bone in his body if he had a skeletal marrow transplant. Now that's a really smart joke from a really smart guy. But guys, Alex Kurtzman isn't a smart guy, but I am. Next! It's been a running joke for many a decade. Show me a male feminist and I'll show you a wolf in geek's clothing. I'm afraid that Joss Whedon's career and feminist popularity is that joke that's run its course. Your 15 minutes of fame clocked in at 9 years ago. In the latest expose of this humanitarian's goodwill efforts, actress Charisma Carpenter describes working on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and its spin-off Angel with a man with a scrotum for a head and who certainly acted like one. I'll leave a link in the description of Charisma's tweets, but Joss Whedon's treatment of her and others includes, getting cast members to compete for his approval, textbook insecurity, calling her fat while 4 months pregnant, mind you, reprimanding the actress over a rosary tattoo, religious mockery, how progressive, retaliating to her doctor's request for reduced working hours while pregnant with demands that she arrive to the shooting scenes at 1 a.m., resulting in her developing false labor contractions. I, for one, am happy that this little piggy is getting served up like bacon, though I'm sorry to report that it's taken a quarter of a century for this impotent soy boy to be exposed. Karma's on the menu and justice has been served. As remorseful as I am for those that suffered under the boot heels of this balding Napoleon complex, I hope we're past the worst of this fraud and pray he answers for his crimes. My stance would most likely be misconstrued if not properly spelled out, so allow me to articulate. If you find someone who's overzealous about how they're all about women's liberation, minority representation, or whatever cause they're pretending to campaign for, to the point of borderline bragging, this just in, it's a hustle. Their agenda might be hidden, but their intentions should be as clear as day. Joss Whedon was allowed to gain celebrity, offered blockbuster deals, and mistreat women because he told you all the right words you wanted to hear. Be mindful of people whispering poison in your ear. After all,
as you're pretty, so be wise. Wolves may lurk in every guise. Now, as then, 'tis simple truth. Sweetest tongue has sharpest tooth.
our top story. The Last Thing at Night, Wednesday, February 10th, 2021, news of The Mandalorian star Gina Carano's firing over offensive posts. The First Thing in the Morning, Thursday, February 11th, 2021, reaction videos by fellow YouTubers over the absurdity of this reaction. Feel free to read them and tweet. I could go into detail over the double standard of Pedro Pascal, the similarity of James Gunn, the hypocrisy of Mulan filming near Chinese internment camps, the reminder of the Henry Cavill controversy. Let's head on over to Deadline, for the official press release. A spokesperson saying, Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. Firstly, strange that this spokesperson didn't give their identity, about as anonymous as Jeffrey Epstein's prison guard. Secondly, and more to the point, that line about denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities is about as unconnected as Amy Schumer's mind is to her mouth. Reread that post. Gina Carano in no way, shape, or form disparages Jews or any other race or religion, and the use of such snobbish vocabulary as abhorrent and unacceptable coming from Lucasfilms? The studio that minimized the presence of their black character on the poster of The Last Jedi in order to appease a racist, communist government. That's about as abhorrent and unacceptable as that crime against humanity that I call The Last Jedi. I got done last week talking about how The Undertaker called wrestling soft, and wrestlers and fans alike prove him right with their tidal wave of hormonal response. Carano, this week, speaks on censorship starting at the civil level, and then they came for Carano. If you can't step back from the political climate and acknowledge this as sage advice for any given scenario to prevent social calamity, if you can't plug in to this sign of the times enough to recognize how applicable this reminder serves as a warning, then I don't care how much I love the sound of my own voice. I won't waste it connecting those dots for you. When you have journalists supporting drone strikes on U.S. citizens, AOC demanding lists be made of Trump supporters, politicians encouraging you to squeal on your neighbors violating quarantine for Thanksgiving, consider the context of what Gina Carano is describing based on the reality of current affairs. Is she really that far-fetched in the grand scheme of things? A slippery slope, folks.
There's no difference between me and everyone else. All it takes is one bad day. That's how far the world is from where I am. Just one bad day.
Food for thought instead of junk food for brain rot. Take great care, friends, that you aren't doing the work of Big Brother in censoring, snitching, or reprimanding your fellow man just so that you can feel a sense of accomplishment for the sake of earning a merit badge that identifies you as a citizen of the world. If you have employed yourself to be a professional victim whose sole occupation it is to feel offended on behalf of others, I would recommend a reevaluation of your life's priorities. This, of course, assuming you even have a life or priorities in it. Should it ever transpire that your passions compel you to seek employment under a hangman because of a mutual axe to grind, you may just find yourself having devised your own demise. If you're so eager to issue bounties on the heads of those who don't conform, it can easily be arranged that your own head is next on the chopping block.
There's always room for one more.
Warn your friends. Warn everyone.